We'll continue our progress now looking at the different types of effect that are available to us down in the effects panel. This time I'm going to go down to the blur and sharpen category, the second one down. As you can see, there are quite a number of different effects we could utilize in here as well. I'll give you an example of one. Rather than using one of the blur effects, which probably you can tell what they do, I'm going to use this sharpen effect. I'll left click and drag and drop onto my clip. Consequently, as we now expect, we now see this sharpen effect has been included in our effect controls up here. However, you will notice something different. When we've applied effects in the previous tutorial, quite frequently our green render line turned red to indicate that this wouldn't play back smoothly. Well, there are certain types of effect that make use of Premiere Pro's Mercury playback engine, and those types of effect will show up along our timeline with that yellow line instead, meaning that you will possibly get playback fairly smooth without the need to go that extra step and render. Anyway, now our sharpen effect is on our timeline on this clip. As I say, we can see it up here. You can either type in a new value from 0 and add in a certain degree amount of sharpening, or if you want to do this by eye, click on here to reveal this slider and then left click and drag it over until you can visibly see a certain amount of sharpening occur. Now, to be honest, I wouldn't leave this at its most extreme setting as we are here. Left click and then drag it to the left to reduce the amount of sharpening taking place. Obviously, I can't give you any hard and fast rules on this because all clips will differ. Some of your clips might not be sharp at all, so just try this out. Anyway, I'll go back, so I'll edit and undo. Now in this case, I'll have to undo 4 times because I made 4 distinct changes. So we're now reverted back. Let's see what else we've got. I don't want to go through every single category, so more pertinently with this clip, I'll come down to color correction. And so that we can compare what we had a look at in the previous tutorial with that shadow and lightness filter, let's try this one out, brightness and contrast. I'll left click and place this on my clip. You'll notice something different now. Here within the effect controls, where I've got my brightness and contrast, we don't just simply have one level. We've got 2, as the name would imply, one for brightness and one for contrast. So you'd be able to open up these individually and try them out. So here with the contrast, I think that looks a little bit better, or certainly it looks a little bit more dramatic. And then with the brightness, well, just drag this either to the right or to the left to alternately increase or decrease the brightness. Notice if it's taken up too far, then the brightness makes this look more like a daytime scene rather than an early evening. But that's fine. This might be exactly what you want to do. You might want to use some footage that you shot that you can use in a different type of film. You might want it to feature a daytime scene. Anyway, that's up to you. You can see how easy it is to do this. Anyway, I'll go back up and edit a couple of times, well actually 3 times, to go back to where we were. Let's see what else we've got. If you want to be really creative, come down to distort, and these are the sort of effects that are special effects really. To be honest, I very rarely use them, but you can see what you can do with these creatively. I'll come down here to mirror, I'll place this on my clip, and then now, moving back up to my mirror in the effect controls, you can see that by left clicking on here, where it says reflection, for this axis anyway, left clicking and dragging to the right or to the left, we get a mirrored reflection sort of turning back on itself. As I say, a special effect really, and it's not one that I would be using all that much, if at all. However, it's there for you, should you want it. So I'll edit and undo to go back to where we were. I'll move down to generate. These are also creative effects that adds something to your clip that doesn't color correct it or adjust its contrast or anything like that. It adds something to the video. For example, if I wanted to add some lens flare to this clip, left click on here and drag and drop onto the clip, and as you can see, we've now got that artificial lens flare added in. I'll step back once more. Maybe you want to be even more creative, remembering of course that this is a sunset and unlikely that we're going to get lightning. However, you can add some lightning in if you prefer. Left click on lightning there and use this on your clip. Okay, now it's not positioned all that well there, but you can reposition this should you want to. You can see with your lightning filter in the effect controls that you have quite a number of different parameters, so you can positionally place it exactly where you want. Once more, it's not for me, so I'll edit and undo. Let's move down to the category below, image control. Remember what I said in the previous tutorial about different types of effect. We can use fixed or inherent effects, or standard effects and filters. Well, I guess these filters fall into the second category, in that I can convert this color scene into black and white. I'll left click on the black and white filter, and there you go. We now get that monochromatic view. I'll edit again and undo. Now this next category down, keying, well, this is quite interesting. What keying effects allow you to do is, well, they allow you to key out or make parts of a video or image transparent. And this transparency is based on your clip's existing alpha channel, luminance or chrominance. That probably sounds more complicated than it needs to be. Essentially what this means is, you can choose a part of your clip and remove it and possibly replace it with something else. You've probably seen this effect a million times when you're watching the weather forecast, whereby the weather presenter will be standing against a green screen, and in post-production the green screen is removed to be replaced by a map of the country with the particular weather forecast for that day. Well, essentially that's what keying will allow you to do. Moving down, we've also got a noise and grain category, if you want to convert your pristine shot films into something that looks a little bit more film noir. So what I suggest is work your way through these different categories to see which suits you and the type of film that you are making. As I said at the beginning of the previous tutorial, there are different types of effect that you can use. Some that correct your video footage so that it looks more natural, or some like this within this stylized category that make your clips look very unnatural indeed. This find edges, for example, well, as you can see, it sort of converts your video footage into a line drawing, very much like animation. Anyway, I don't want that, so I'll edit and undo again. So to reiterate what I said a moment ago, just work your way through these different categories and trying these different filters out to see what suits your footage. Right, I'm going to leave it here now then, now that we've seen a couple of tutorials implementing effects in action.